This week began with Anheuser-Busch, the makers of an alcoholic goat urine beverage they call a Bud Light, signing an endorsement deal with minstrel show performer Dylan Mulvaney. Now, some conservatives, the ones who still somehow don't realize what time it is, refuse to believe that Bud Light would betray them like this after all those many gallons of the beer-like substance they consumed out of red plastic cups in their younger days, mostly before they were of legal drinking age. How could the company stab them in the back now after all of that? It must be some kind of April Fool's prank, they insisted. It can't be real. But then Anheuser-Busch confirmed in a statement that it was no joke at all. Of course it wasn't. They had indeed partnered with Mulvaney in an effort to, quote, authentically connect with the audiences across various demographics and passion points. So by teaming up with the trans influencer, they had succeeded in connecting with any men in their customer base whose greatest passion point is dressing up like an adolescent girl and passing out tampons in the women's restroom, as Mulvaney is known to do. But that was only the beginning of the week. The wokeness parade was only getting started. On Wednesday, Mulvaney excitedly announced another major brand partnership, and this time it was Nike. Nike is also sponsoring Mulvaney, and in a series of posts, the male TikTok user modeled Nike leggings and a Nike sports bra. So if you're a woman shopping for leggings and sports bras, and you want to know what the product might look like on the female body, like your body, unfortunately, you're out of luck. But if, on the other hand, you want to know what they look like on a flat-chested man with the physique of a large tropical flightless bird, well, then Nike has you covered. But so far, we've covered only 2 days of the week. Corporate America has 7 days to cram as much wokeness in as they can. And as we've seen, they'll give it their best effort every single week. So also then this week, a Jack Daniels campaign went viral. A campaign which actually was first launched in 2021 called Small Town Big Pride. The company teamed up with drag queens from the show RuPaul's Drag Race to promote whiskey and drag queens. And actually, it appears that Jack Daniels produced an entire reality TV series that they released on their YouTube channel about drag queens called Summer Glamp. It sounds pretty gay, just based on the title and the description, but you have no idea just how gay it actually is. Here's a clip.
What's going on with this rain? This is not conducive for a pride party.
We got up in the morning and it was just pouring.
You can't rain on our parade? I'm just so glad we're not in drag and heels and wigs right now.
Can you imagine in the weather being so bad and just makeup and hair? Oh, that would be, that stretches, honey. But listen, people, we have a party to plan and we need to go get some decorations and we need to get this going, honey. We're expecting people.
Let's go to the town square and get some party supplies.
I'm ready.
Oh my gosh, she looks so stunning in every single one of you are dressed to the nines.
This is going to be the fiercest party Lynchburg has ever seen. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, sisters. Let's do a cocktail.
Let's do a cocktail. We should make a Jack Fire cranberry.
Yes, we should.
Okay, come on. Okay, I'll help.
Cheers.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. We invited all of Lynchburg, so I wonder who's going to show up.
Well, let's see who shows
Who's
up.
our...
Good.
How y'all doing?
Jack Daniels whiskey was founded by a guy named Jasper Newton Daniel, nicknamed Jack, in the 1880s. And he first learned how to make moonshine whiskey from a local preacher in his town of Lynchburg. I can only imagine how that old Tennessee moonshiner must feel looking on from the grave and seeing what they've done to his beloved whiskey and his name. It must feel like dying all over again. And yet, this was not the only drag queen corporate brand sponsorship to make the news this week. Build-A-Bear announced also, just in time for Easter, a new RuPaul drag bear. For the low price of $56, you can buy a stuffed bear dolled up in hideous makeup and a ridiculous wig, just like a real-life drag queen. Nike, Jack Daniels, Bud Light, Build-A-Bear, all in 1 week. Brands we can add to the list. Hershey's is another recent one, of course, of companies that have not simply gone woke. Okay, it's not just that, but have in fact adopted and promoted the most extreme tenets of left-wing orthodoxy. We're talking about companies that, we're not talking about companies that simply issue shallow platitudes about diversity and inclusion or whatever. This is extreme, radical, hiring a man to model your sports bra, putting out a video series with flamboyant homosexual drag queens vomiting rainbow colors all over the screen. This is not entry-level wokeness. These companies are not cautiously dipping their toes into the progressive pool. They are diving headfirst into the deepest end. And they're doing it in spite of the fact that their customer base is, at best, not interested in this sort of thing. You know, at the end of that Jack Daniels clip, we see a burly old guy with a straw hat and overalls and a thick Tennessee accent showing up to a bar decorated with rainbow balloons to order whiskey from drag queens. Okay, that is not, to put it mildly, reflective of reality. Okay, that guy does look like a Jack Daniels drinker, and probably a Bud Light drinker too, if I had to guess. But I highly doubt that that he represents the typical audience for LGBT inclusion propaganda. Rather, he represents the audience alienated by such propaganda. So why are the brands doing this? What's the point? What's their game here? What's the play? Is there a play? Is there a strategy at all? Well, to answer that, we have to understand two things. And these are both very important, and they're both things that conservatives tend to miss. So first, the brands are not trying to appeal to their customers with this kind of stuff. So when we say, this doesn't appeal to the customers, well, it's not meant to. The goal is to make their customers or remake them. So if you're a Jack Daniels consumer, you probably have no interest in drag queens and gay pride. But the point is they want to make you interested in those things. You're not now, but they want you to be. Whose point is that, though? Whose agenda is this? Are the people in Jack Daniels or Bud Light corporate offices, are they really passionate about spreading the LGBT gospel? Of course not. But this is where you have to understand the second point. The left has taken away all of the neutral cultural ground. There is no neutral ground anymore. It doesn't exist. This is all by design. You're not allowed to be neutral, according to the left. And this is why brands like Bud Light and Nike and Jack Daniels and Build-A-Bear are giving endorsement deals to dudes in dresses and hosting reality TV summer camps for drag queens. In the past, a beer company or a whiskey company or a shoe manufacturer, they could basically be culturally neutral. I mean, for all intents and purposes. If they did any virtue signaling, and companies have always done that, but they would have been signaling universal, or what used to be universal values like patriotism and charity, and we're going to wave the American flag, and we're celebrating July 4th, and we're that sort of thing. But now the left has declared that you're either with them or against them. This is the silence is violence principle. And the left has ways of enforcing this principle. James Lindsay put out an important thread on Twitter explaining one of these ways. The far left group called the Human Rights Campaign. They put out a report every year called the Corporate Equality Index. And corporations are given a score, which is meant to measure their fidelity to left-wing doctrines. If these companies do not go out of their way, again, it's not good enough to just, not say anything, or if they don't go out of their way to wave the pride flag and display their wokeness bona fides, they will be judged socially irresponsible, quote unquote, and they'll have points deducted. And you don't want, if you're a corporation, you don't want to have a low score with the Human Rights Campaign. The HRC is just one of many well-funded left-wing advocacy groups whose sole purpose on this earth is to use these extortion techniques to extract ideological concessions from corporate America. There are many well-organized, well-funded, well-oiled machines that the left has at their disposal to do exactly this, which leaves the brands with a choice. They can be baptized into wokeism and openly worship at the LGBT altar, or they can, by default, align themselves with conservatives, thereby failing the social responsibility test. Okay? In other words, they can be left-wing or they can be right-wing. And again, if your answer is, well, why can't they be neither? I mean, why not just make the whiskey? It's not an option. That option is not being left open to them. The left says you have to choose. If you're not with us, you are against us. If you are not openly left-wing, you are right-wing. So what are the corporations going to do? The left will do everything in their power, and they have a lot of it, to make any corporation pay dearly for disloyalty. Piss off the right, on the other hand, and you'll have to deal with some angry tweets And that's it. Nothing else will happen. So it's an easy choice for them. Go woke, go broke, we like to say. We like to say that to ourselves. It's kind of a psychological coping mechanism on the right. Go woke, go broke. We repeat it as a mantra in the mirror while we're doing our daily affirmations. We whisper it while we rock ourselves to sleep at night. It's a comforting thought. But like most comforting thoughts, it's not true. Because companies go woke all the time. Almost all of them have. And guess what? None of them have gone broke because of it. So go woke, go broke, at least on the corporate level, that's never happened. Go woke, go broke really means, in practice, go woke and then continue along the same as you did before, suffering no consequences whatsoever. The consequences are ultimately suffered by us because the corporate wokeness has the desired effect. It normalizes radical left-wing ideology. It commercializes it, which is the same thing as normalizing it, and it gradually makes it seem less radical and less left-wing to most people, even many on the right, who ostensibly oppose the wokeness. This is why they do it, and it works. See, many of us still will see advertisements as merely reflecting the culture, right? That's why we're so surprised when we see Jack Daniels turn into Jacqueline Daniela. This doesn't reflect the Jack Daniels customer base, we shout indignantly, but it's not meant to reflect. It's meant to shape. Again, they don't want to represent your values. They want to make your values. The brands don't reflect us. We reflect the brands in consumerist America.